Have you ever stopped to ask whether the person giving you advice has actually done the thing they're advising you on? Start with the easiest one. The person who taught you about money. Do they actually have their own life in order? Are they out of debt? Do they own their home? Do they live comfortably? Or are they quietly fighting the same money problems they're warning you about? Sit with that for a second before you answer. You took the advice. You built decisions on top of it, without ever once checking whether the person handing it to you had anything to show for it. There's a difference between advice and opinion, and the difference is proof. If someone has done the thing and can show you the result, that's advice. If they haven't, then it's just an opinion said with confidence, and it's worth nothing no matter how much you happen to love the person saying it. So here are the 6 people you need to stop taking life advice from, starting today. Number 1 is the parent who never did it. Most of the time, they're not handing you advice. They're handing you their old beliefs, because parents are usually analog players in a digital world. Take the classic one. Go to university. They push it hard, and they push it because they genuinely believe it's the safest path to a good life. They mean the absolute best for you. The problem is, they're describing a world that doesn't really exist anymore. A degree still makes sense for a handful of professions, a doctor, a lawyer, and a few others. But for most careers today, the degree has almost nothing to do with the job. So the advice sends you off for 3 or 4 years, piles up tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands in debt that you'll be paying down for decades, and hands you a piece of paper you can't even get hired with. They didn't lie to you. They're just handing you instructions from a world that doesn't exist anymore. A parent is meant to hand you the basics for life: how to handle your emotions, how to get back up after you fail, and how to think for yourself. Most never do, and it's not for lack of love. It's that nobody handed those things to them either. So this comes down to one skill, and it's the same skill for every person on this list: critical thinking. Take the label off. Parent, teacher, boss, whatever they are, it doesn't matter, because the label tells you nothing about whether the advice is any good. Look at the advice itself. Does it actually make sense? Ask more questions. Go and check it against the real world before you build anything on top of it. Don't accept it just because of who it came from. Just stop taking their word as proof, and you go find someone who's actually living the version of life you're trying to build. Number 2 is the teacher who never worked in the field. Think about it. They went from school to university and straight back into a classroom. They have never worked a day in the industry they're describing to you. And look at what comes out of that. 12 years of school, and nobody teaches you how tax works. Nobody teaches you how a contract works, or what interest actually costs you, or how to negotiate what you're paid. You leave knowing the parts of a plant cell, and you sign your first lease without understanding a word of it. They're not lying. They just don't know. You can't teach a life you've never lived. Now, don't automatically dismiss these people, because nothing stops you from checking. Ask them what they've actually tried to build, and what they tried and failed at. That one question tells you almost everything about whether this is a person you take practical advice from. And if they've got nothing, stay decent about it. Thank them for the opinion, and quietly keep filtering. They're usually trying to help from a limited point of view, and that's not something to be rude about. You don't have to hand them the role of mentor just because they offered. Number 3 is the friend standing in exactly the same place as you. This is the hardest one to spot, because it looks exactly like support. You tell them you're quitting drinking, starting the business, finally leaving the dead relationship, and within seconds they've got a full list of reasons it'll fail, all of it wrapped in looking out for you. Now, maybe your friend is genuinely trying to help. That happens. But here's the trap. This friend usually isn't malicious. That's what makes them dangerous. They genuinely want you around, but the version of you they want is the one who stays on their level. So nothing has to change between the two of you. Your decision to move holds up a mirror to their own life, and it's easier for them to talk you out of it than to face the fact that they never moved themselves. So ask the simple question, where has their advice actually taken them? Not where they say they're headed one day, but where they're standing right now. If they're stuck in the exact spot you're trying to leave, they're not in the position to give actual advice. Number 4 is the influencer selling you the outcome. Let's just say it as it is. Most of them are lying straight to your face because they need you to buy the course. The car, the house, the lifestyle in the background is usually rented, and the only thing paying for it is people buying the thing they're selling. The course doesn't fund their success, it funds their pretense. You're not the student in that arrangement, you're the income. So don't buy the pretty words, the inflated ego, the rented supercar. That's the whole trick, and it's aimed straight at the part of you that wants it to be real. Do the extra work instead. What have they actually built? If it's a company, how is that company really doing? If it's a product, go and read the reviews that nobody paid for. 10 minutes of that protects you from losing a small fortune. The clean question underneath all of it. Does their money come from doing the thing, or from selling you the dream of doing it? Anybody can sell you the result. Only someone who actually got there can tell you what it cost. Number 5 is the person who tried it once and quit. They'll warn you off with real conviction, and it always comes dressed up as protecting you. But look at what's underneath it. They tried, they failed, and they couldn't stomach going back, so now they'd rather you didn't go either. Because if you make it work, then it was never impossible. It was just impossible for them. Now, there's still something to take here. You just have to take the right part. It's good to learn from your own mistakes, and it's wise to learn from the mistakes of others. So ask them the follow-up questions. What exactly went wrong? What would they do differently? Where did it fall apart? That's genuinely valuable. But the second they slide from what happened into what you should do, you're done listening. Thank them for the opinion and move on. Learn from where they failed. Do not catch the part of them that quit. Number 6 is the person who did it in a completely different era. This one is the most respectable and therefore the most dangerous, because they genuinely did the thing. Prices moved, rules changed, whole markets were rebuilt from scratch. So ask which part of what they're telling you is timeless, and which part only worked because of the conditions at the time. That single question lets you keep the useful half without swallowing a set of instructions that expired 30 years ago. Look at what all 6 have in common, because the same mistake sits underneath every one of them. People confuse position with proof, and the two have almost nothing to do with each other. Age is not proof. Somebody can be 40 years older than you and still be broke. A job title is not proof either. Plenty of people carry the title and never carried the risk that goes with it. Same with an audience. 1 million followers, and every object in the frame is rented. And love is not proof. Your mother can love you more than anyone alive and still have no idea how money works. Proof is the result. It's the scoreboard, the receipt, the actual way their life looks in the exact area they're advising you about. Everything else is just for show. If you're getting any value out of this, take a second to subscribe. It helps the channel grow and spread the knowledge. Now, the part almost nobody gets to, because tearing down the wrong voices is easy, and choosing the right ones takes actual work. So, who do you take advice from? You're looking for a black belt. Not somebody who sounds like one, but somebody who earned the rank in the exact thing you're asking about. There are 4 ways to tell. The first is that the result is real, and you can actually see it. Not, "I've done well," or "Trust me, it works." An actual number, a real business, a body you can look at, a portfolio with a figure on it, something you can check. The second is that they can tell you what it cost them. The real ones lead with the losses, the wasted year, the money burned, the thing they'd never repeat. Anybody carrying nothing but a highlight reel is selling you something. The third is that they can explain how they actually did it, step by step. Not work hard and stay positive, but the real sequence. what they did first, what came second, and what they'd cut entirely if they had to start over tomorrow. Real expertise is a clear set of steps, not a feeling. The fourth is whether they can do it again. One win can be luck. It can be timing, or money somebody handed them, or a contact you don't have. So don't just ask if they won. Ask them why it worked. If they can't tell you, they don't know either, and neither of you can repeat it. One thing on top of all four. Expertise is specific. A surgeon can be the best in the country in the operating room and a complete disaster with their own money. So take their advice where they've actually proven it and ignore it everywhere they haven't. Here's the part that stings, and I'm not going to soften it. The people who love you the most are usually the least qualified to advise you. That's not an insult aimed at them. They love you, they want you safe, and they're pulling from the only life they've actually lived. If that life never contained the thing you're chasing, then their advice is a guess with a great deal of emotion attached to it, and the emotion is exactly what makes it so hard to refuse. You can love your father completely and still not take his investment advice. You can respect your mother deeply and still refuse to run your marriage the way she ran hers. Loyalty and instruction are two separate things, and you're allowed to give somebody your loyalty for life while giving them zero authority over one particular decision. You can be loyal to a person without letting their limits become your future. Hit the like button if that one landed, because it's what puts this in front of the next person who needs to hear it. When you do get access to somebody who has actually done it, understand that it'll be short and it won't be scheduled. You get a minute in a lobby, a few minutes at a table, one conversation at a wedding. So write your 3 questions now, before you need them, about whatever you're genuinely stuck on. And load those questions with your own specifics, because any advice for me is the emptiest thing you can say to a person. It hands a stranger the job of guessing what you need. Compare that to asking what they'd do in your position over the next 90 days, or what they believed at the start that turned out to be completely wrong. Those get answered in under a minute, and they show you how the person thinks. Ask for their thinking, not their resources, not money, not a job, not an introduction. Their thinking is free, and it's worth far more than any of those. And then go and do what they told you, because the only thing that earns you a second conversation is proof that you used the first one. There's a channel called The School of Hard Knocks that shows this in practice. They walk up to strangers on the street who've clearly built something and get 2 minutes, sometimes less. And here's the real lesson in it. The quality of the question is what buys the time. A sharp, genuinely interesting question is what gets you through the door and holds the attention of someone in an elite position you'd otherwise never get near. A lazy question gets you a polite nod and a closing door. And notice what they never do. They don't walk up demanding access to somebody's results. They show that they've thought seriously about the problem, and they want to understand how that person thinks. That's what opens the door. Most of those people you will never meet in person, and it genuinely doesn't matter, because you're living in the first era where the alternative is this good. The best people alive in nearly every field have sat down for long interviews, recorded podcasts, and answered questions on stage, and all of it is sitting there for free right now. So what are you actually doing with that access? Go to the source instead of the commentary. Watch the person who built the thing, not the guy making videos about the person who built the thing. Most people consume the second one and genuinely believe they learned the first. And skip the shorts. A short clip only gives you the answer, and the answer on its own is almost useless. What you actually want is how they got to it. You want to sit with them for 20, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, long enough to hear how they think, how they build their train of thought, what they pay attention to, how they break a problem down, how deep they're willing to go into it. That's the part worth having, and a 30-second clip can't show you any of it. And don't stop at one. Watch 10 of them, spread over years, and pay attention to what keeps coming up. Whatever they repeat across all of them is the real mechanism. Whatever shows up once and never again is just a good line. You're not obligated to take direction from anybody simply because they're older, louder, related to you, or standing at the front of a room. From today, your standard is 3 questions long. Did you do it? Can you prove it? And what did it cost you? And that includes me. Don't accept a word of this because I delivered it with conviction. Run those same 3 questions at me and test the whole thing against your own life. You can respect people all you want. That's fine, respect them. But respect doesn't mean you hand them the wheel. Nobody gets to steer your life just because of who they are, or how sure they sound. So in the comments, tell me the last time you took advice from someone who had no business giving it. No receipts, nothing to show for it, just talk. Who was it, and what did it end up costing you? Be honest. That one's going to sting for a lot of you. See you in the next one.